nah, bro. Like if you go through some type of personal event that's unfortunate, like how you unfortunately went through having like a fainting and having like a seizure type thing, or having a couple seizures, or like if I catch some type of chest infection or whatever that's not COVID, but it still is treat me like that and I'm bedridden, bro. It's trash when you go through certain things, because there's always a scale of like, there's always like what could be worse, what could be better or whatever, like, or like, oh, at least you didn't have to go through this. But looking at us being able to bypass that shit and overcome that shit, in my opinion, like that's one of the better feelings, and that's one of the reasons that we got to be grateful.
Yep. Every day on earth's a good day, pretty much. Like, as much as we hate it being here sometimes, like you having to work for a living, having to do this, having to do that, but like at the end of the day, you're still here. Like you could just as easily not have been here, sort of thing. Like they straight up said I could have very easily died. Like either time having those seizures, I could have very easily died, or have like irreparable like brain damage, or like still be in the fucking hospital now. Like I got lucky again.
I don't know, man. In my opinion, I don't really believe in luck, bro. But in context of you know how you know my beliefs and how I be thinking, and though it's not about agreeing on everything in life or agreeing with all of your friends' viewpoints or how they choose to live life. That's why I try to choose words like fortunate, or you know what I mean, or blessed or whatever. It's not about saying anything from a standpoint of like, yo, you got to look at life the way I do. It's just more of when we say things like luck or chance or whatever the case is, I look at it like there's a reason, in my opinion, there's a reason why your quote unquote, your life was spared. There's a reason, bro. Like maybe you didn't accomplish what you're supposed to accomplish. And I don't mean accomplish, like, I mean purpose. It doesn't have to mean from some higher situation. If you choose not to believe in it, I choose to believe in it. But I'm saying like, for you to be able to overcome something that, like you were saying, could have easily taken you out of here, that's a situation where you kind of have to, in my opinion, it's like you kind of have to look at it like I'm not done yet, because otherwise, like you genuinely would have passed away. Like there's no other way around that. Like there's either one way or another. And though we might not look at it like some type of grand, like, oh, it's a grand purpose where I'm going to do this, this, and this, and I'm going to save the planet. You might not look at it like that. But you might have been, quote unquote, spared, Trent, just so that you could impact somebody else's life who you might meet in 3 months or whatever the case is. I don't know the reason, but I'm just saying hypothetically, you know? I don't know your thoughts on that.
And from 18 to almost 30, it's been 3 times I've almost had something like this happen, like near-death experiences like that. So I don't know, man. Clearly something or someone's watching over me. Say, no, you're still here, reset, respawn.
It's like a reset. It's like a mental reset. It's like, but it's like the few times, I say few, literally twice, 2 times that I've ever fell out off of like just being wild drunk and burning it down, like having some herbs in my system, is like mad younger, like when I was like way too young to be doing any of that type of stuff. But I say all that to say, you pass out, fall down, hit your face off the ground type stuff, that right there is the real danger. Unfortunately, if you're sitting out and you just nod off and you just pass out that way onto a couch and you at least don't fall and smash your head and somehow you come 2 hours later or they rush you to the hospital or whatever, that's a little different than you falling and smashing your face off something. It's just like, so that's the only thing I look at differently, where it's like,
grateful that didn't happen. I'm glad 100%. I took it in the back of the head, not in the face.
But it's like, no, because Trent, I fell right on my face, unfortunately, bro. But I did it like right at this like top of my, like basically right when you get up, let's just say I walked up 5 or 6 stairs to get on my front porch. Yeah. This is late at night, like 12:30, like after midnight type joint. I fall down on some just being super drunk after like a high school party type stuff. One of my homies dropped me off. I'm super baked or whatever. You're 17, 18 or whatever. You get home or whatever, and like I fall, hit my face off the ground, all types of nonsense. Wake up, nose is basically broken. There's a split on the top of my nose. Like, I'm not going to show y'all right now, but it's like there's like a little cut on the top of my nose that's probably going to be a scar there forever. It is what it is, but it's a learning experience. I didn't eat nothing for like a good portion of the day, bro. You cannot drink alcohol. To any of you young people watching, please eat things. I know you might be rebellious and do some reckless stuff.
Even you older people fucking eat things
before
drinking.
Young people, grown people. Yeah, you're right. I'm just saying it from a like PSA type ish. Like, yo, understand that unfortunately you can pass out just from not having no food in your system and just drinking alcohol. So just please get all lightheaded, all types of shit. But yo, it's scary because you think to yourself, you hit the corner of your head and you out of there. And it's not about having it's not that I'm trying to keep it on like some type of morbid situation. I'm just saying for us to be so grateful to get to 2022, bro, is amazing to me because you might express it in previous episodes that you're grateful, but it's like, nah, for real, like, man's is grateful. Like, I don't know.
We said it like a couple episodes ago, just talking about how like the holidays being time to like just be grateful for things, but like it should be, like I said, it should be like a daily, if not a weekly thing, if not a daily thing. You know what I mean? Like you've been given another, like a new year, another chance, 365 pages, blah, all those cliches, whatever you want to look at it like that. But you're still here. You've got more time left now. We don't know when our ticket gets punched. We don't know where, we don't know when, we don't know why. So we got to just, in the meantime, do the best with what we can and be the best with what we can. Like, it's not just like be the best for like this and that, the other thing, but personally be the best, like be the best you can be for yourself, if not for X, Y, and Z purposes. I don't know. I've felt much better about myself, like in my life, when I've actually like tried to feel tried to give a fuck about like my inner self. You know what I mean? And not just go through life just reacting to what happens or whatever comes my way, but more so like just trying to work on myself and just be with my like thoughts and work on my mental health and stuff like that. Like when I really stopped and started doing that, that's when I started actually feeling better about myself and actually started like loving myself and giving a fuck about myself. But it's that putting in that work and doing things that a lot of people don't want to do or just straight up don't know how to do.
See, and that's a dope thing that you just touched on. That's a real dope thing you just touched on. Because looking at it like being able to cope or sit alone with your thoughts and navigate through them without a coping mechanism, whether it's you drink a little wine here and there, you puff a little herbs, whatever. That's the thing that I feel like a lot of people do struggle with, like genuinely not having a vice. And it's not about being like, well, we're humans, man, we make mistakes, but it's more like, nah, like people have the ability to discipline themselves or go out of their way to deal with certain issues they might be facing. But unfortunately, we choose not to. And it's not about like, because sometimes we just don't know how, like you just said. But to the people who more or less know better and don't do better, it's unfortunate because you feel it. You know you could have, like, man, I should have helped X, Y, and Z yesterday. Or, man, I should have went over to my aunt's house yesterday when she asked me to. Or, man, and you say to you, then it's not about like regret or nothing, but you kind of just, you feel bad because like, you know, you could have done better. And like, once you face those types of realities where you actually like, okay, I'm actually going to sit down and be with my thoughts and actually focus on what I can do to change them, I feel like you grow as a person then. There's like no way around it, in my opinion. Because if you're going to deal with your thoughts, and it's not about saying you have to be super clarity or not ever touch a vice, Trent, but how else do you deal with these things and know that, or genuinely feel like it's the right way that you dealt with it, unless you're kind of in your right state of mind, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a thought, you know?
Definitely not like shit face. That's not a good way to start dealing with your issues. That's a good way to like vent your issues, but not a good way to like start dealing with them like the real way, especially if like, yeah, that's it. There's, if I can say anything, it's alcohol is definitely not a cure for that. It can be like a good fun party drug and all that, but if it starts getting past that to like getting drunk by yourself just to like, feel something or, you know, like real stuff, then we're off on that subject. And even the same, you know, the weed too, like it's hard to find that balance sometimes, but I don't know. I've always looked at it like I keep my job, I keep everything going, I keep everything going. I think I can just smoke weed. You know what I mean?
See,
But at the same time, there is definitely, I see that point for clarity and absolute sobriety for that too, because it takes serious discipline to do that, especially in this time and age where we are living in with the, like how stressful these times can be and whatnot. Like I have absolutely nothing but tremendous respect for the people who have been sober through this entire time and stayed sober this entire time, or got sober through this time and have stayed sober through this time, because that takes some serious mental fortitude, not just at the best of times, just takes the best mental fortitude, but during all this horse shit that's going on right now, holy, like just some serious mental fortitude to go about doing that. Like, honestly, it really blows my mind. But as far as like, I don't know, clarity goes, where you can have it, basically, you just have to sit and think about it. You have to sit and be with yourself in your own thoughts. And I find the best way to do that personally, like, is either through like straight up doing yoga, going on like hikes out in the middle of nature, and not listen to music. That's the one thing I found. If you're out in like the middle of the woods or anything, no music. You can listen to music when you're like in the city walking up to the place or whatever. But once you get in the woods, headphones go in the bag. You're in nature. You have to be in nature. Otherwise, you're missing out on everything, because then you're just listening to music, and you're just listening to music in the woods at that point. It's cool visual, but at the same time, you're not taking it in. Like, you gotta have to be within. Like, you gotta hear things come. You gotta be there. You gotta be in the moment and present.
Yeah, you gotta be present.
That is the key to clarity, is being in that moment and being present in that moment, being consciously aware that you are present in that moment.
And that's why that certain things, like certain vices, like whether it's herbs or alcohol or whatever the case is, those things that distort your clarity, is tough, because I find at one point, like, you find yourself trying to justify, like, oh, it's okay, man. If I have another glass of wine or whatever, it's all good. You know what I mean? And then it's like, you might have wanted to accomplish something, and you felt like, oh, if I found the right balance, like, oh, yo, maybe if I just burn this joint down and this, that, and the third, and then once I finish, I'll accomplish X, Y, and Z. And then you find out that 2-3 hours go by and you just procrastinated or whatever, and it's like you could have genuinely used that 2-3 hours to accomplish whatever goal you were talking about. So it's like, but it sucks, because again, it's to a degree, certain people might be like, oh, like there's like a certain balance you can have, right? Like doing things in moderation. But I don't know, Trent. I just feel like, for me personally, like, as I'm trying to, like, it's about to be a turn of a new decade for me and you, in the sense of age-wise. Like, we're about to turn 30 in that regard, bro. Like, most people don't like to express their age. It is what it is. I'm thinking it's a blessing, because I'm getting to an age where a lot of my people, unfortunately, didn't, like a lot of the homies and certain things, like, they didn't get to this age. It is what it is. But I'm saying it from a standpoint of being able to see with clarity and actually be like, okay, I got to focus on this purpose. I can't sit here and procrastinate any longer. I can't sit here and have it where it's like, woe is me because I'm not exactly where I want to be, or woe is me because I might have accumulated a little bit of university debt, or, you know what I mean? It's just, sometimes we find reasons to justify why we're doing certain things and having certain, like, substances, like, take control of our lives. And I'm not saying it from a judgmental standpoint, because again, I'm one of the people who might engage with the herbs and spices at a previous time in life. Now it's a matter of trying to get to that, like, it's being on that clarity mode, but it's like trying to get to that point where it's like I've mastered it, to like, I don't ever touch nothing. And it's not about being some square or whatever, but it's like, I want to accomplish certain goals, bro. And I feel like certain things are holding me back, and I'm not allowing myself to drop them shits to let me progress. I'm like half-assing it, like half doing it, half not. And it's like, bro, if you're trying to accomplish things, like, and you're trying to meet certain deadlines, you got to pick what you're trying to do with life and fucking drive it home, you know?
I feel you. It was, for me, that was like my first 2 years of university, because I was on my own for the first time, and I could just do what the fuck I wanted to do, and just, you know, burn all day, every day and fucking, go to class high, whatever the fuck. But I came to realize I started to like, I need to be sober for part of this, at least, if not most of it, to get through it. So I can like actually figure out what the fuck is going on, like actually like take conscious notes and like remember what the fuck they were talking about and all this stuff and get things done, like you were saying. Now, that being said, after all that, all like schoolwork and all that was done, game on, you know what I mean? But it was getting to that point that was something like, once again, it was, for me, it was finding a balance. For other people, like you said, it's going completely stone cold sober and nothing and no substitutions with that. And to each their own, really.
Yeah, 100%. And it's the good thing about life where we genuinely all have our own paths to walk. But I'm saying it from a standpoint of, if you're supposed to face certain things, because I always kind of revert back to Pineapple Express, bro, that movie with Seth Rogen and James Franco or whatever. Yo, like, mad things they go through in the movie, and like the one line Seth Rogen's just like, she's like, his extremely younger girlfriend is like, oh, why do you always do XYZ, XYZ, XYZ? And they're on the phone, and Seth Rogen's just like, because I'm high, shit, or whatever, right? And it's like, he's just basically expressing that he's always fried, and that's why certain bullshit be happening, because he's not clear enough to actually avoid the bullshit and just kind of like, you know what I mean, navigate to the next point. But it's funny because it's so true. Not saying that you can't channel, like be functioning, so to speak, and channel that into a dope ass mentality and be on your Wiz Khalifa type shit or your Snoop Dogg type shit or Willie Nelson or whoever, or Cheech and Chong or whoever. You're like, Be Real, Cypress Hill, like all the different types of just smokers who like have gone above and beyond. But I'm sure they've had trials and tribulations where like they've smoked too much herbs and greened out and passed out, but they were supposed to do a concert that night and had to miss the concert because they got sick and all that other type of BS. I'm sure some nonsense like that has happened too that they didn't necessarily have to go through. But life is life. That's why it is to each their own. Like, but it's just, I'm just saying, for me, as I'm realizing Trent and certain signs are hitting me, I gotta chill, bro. I gotta chill in a real way. And I'll still do my little 1 and 2 and sip my little wine or whatever. But if I'm trying to focus on this school shit and really be serious, like, and then once all that's accomplished and I get certain types of certificates and degrees and things like that, then it's different, because it's like, not that I would automatically be like, yo, I'm gonna just blaze it down, or I'm gonna just whatever. It's not that I'm necessarily saying I'm gonna just dive back into an old part of life, but I'm saying at least at that point when you accomplish whatever you're trying to, you can say, okay, now I can sit down and do X, Y, and Z, if that's how you're trying to go through life, right?
It's like, it's a reward, basically, like,
Yeah,
for in some regards.
Yeah, you can look at it that way. Yeah, because you're saying it's like, you know, you've accomplished the mission. So after that, you're like, okay, now I can sit down and have a dope ass drink, or sit down and blaze something down with a fine shorty or a fine, you know what I mean, with a fine woman by your side.
I'm just thinking of Arnold at the end of Pumping Iron, eating a bunch of junk food, smoking the joint with the Arnold his numero uno shirt on, just like, oh.
That was the thing, bro, because especially at that time, he was a bad man. And it's like, just in the sense of people achieving, like, that's why if you are an outlier and you just are just exceeding different expectations or whatever, then you have no, like, you can just kind of do, not, well, in context, you can just do what you want, because it's like, you know, your way's not broken, your way is working. So you can actually accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, still have your vices, especially if you're in a field where you're not being tested, or you're not being, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing to, quote unquote, stop you from doing these things. Then go at it, have at it, right? But for example, if you're trying to be a doctor or something like that, not that they necessarily drug test you, or they might, I don't know, but I'm looking at it from a standpoint of, because don't get me wrong, there's so many different stories where people say, oh yeah, such and such doctor, he was on cocaine while he was doing that surgery. And my man performs the surgery properly and shit, bro, and is a functioning, just, you know what I mean? And you're like, what the heck? But I say all that to say, people live their life wild. I wouldn't want somebody operating on me who's under the influence in that regard, that's why, like, you have to kind of look at it like, if you're I'm just using healthcare as an example, but if you're in a healthcare role, like a doctor, a nurse, radiation therapist, whatever, you kind of have to be straight minded, like sober minded. You can't just be on some high shit, just fucking up people's lives, and they're dealing with cancer, or they got to have like a tumor removed, and you're a surgeon and you're fucking up. And yeah, I mean, it just, that'd be crazy to me. That's why I'm looking at, not saying they don't, doctors and shit don't do that. If you're at home and you have 3 days off, so you want to do that with some of that white girl, and it's out of your system at the end of that 3 days, okay, cool. You know what I mean? Or some of that, you know, but I'm just making a joke. But, you know, it's just, it all depends on how you look at life. I just know I got to be super duper clear, especially if I'm trying to tackle certain goals, get a certain type of woman, XYZ, XYZ. Yeah, bro, I just got a trip. But it kind of leads to the next topic that you kind of set me, if you want to break down, or, you know.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say to that was professions of that nature like deserve a high, or like operate at a higher standard, and those standards include like sobriety at certain times, if not all times. So that's part of the, I don't know, that's part of the gig. You know what I mean? Like that's what you sign. That's part of the oh fuck, what's the word I'm looking for? Part of the deal, basically, when you signed up for it. You know what I mean? But the other topic was actually from another podcast. I didn't watch the podcast, but I just saw this clip from it. It was talking about the concept of the shopping cart. Like you can determine like people based on like what they do with shopping carts. If they put it away or if they schlub it off, it's somebody else's job. And that's really got me, and it really got me thinking, because it is a really interesting concept. Like people who like will take the time to either put it away and make sure it's out of the way and all that, or the people who just leave it wherever because it's not my problem, somebody else will do that, because that translates generally to how other people, how they're living the rest of their lives. It's something, I don't know if it's like it's definitely not like a one-to-one thing, but like it's also goes to something we were talking about the way. If you know the way broadly, you can see it in all things. If this is how you're living your life in one aspect of it, how are you living your life in the rest of this aspects of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
It's just a common courtesy thing like that.
Yeah. And that's to be able to try to pinpoint, but it's kind of tricky, because to be able to try to pinpoint that's how someone lives their life based on the way they deal with shopping carts, it can kind of be like a false analysis, only because you might, unfortunately, like, for example, you live in Toronto, bro. Like, so if you go and get groceries, for example, if I live in Toronto, for example, and I have to use the streetcar, and I see that streetcar pull up and it's a red light, unfortunately, and I have like my little grocery bags in the cart, so I'm pushing it towards the door. So all I have to do is basically take my bags out, roll it towards the carts. It doesn't go right into the thing, but it goes kind of close to it, unfortunately, because you want to catch your streetcar and not have to stand in the hot sun or in the rain or whatever for the next 10 minutes. Bro, unfortunately, sometimes you have to do those ones. Circumstantial or different situations, unfortunately, lead to the bullshit where you might not be a shitty human being throughout all aspects, but in that little fragment, somebody saw you kind of push that cart towards the group of carts and then kind of run towards the streetcar. They might even think, oh shoot, I see him running towards the streetcar, I understand why he couldn't put it back. Or they might think, wow, that guy's a jerk, he did. But it's like, it shouldn't really matter, because that's a great ass topic, because it does allow you to kind of see. But granted, if they don't rush away after, if they just kind of walk and ease and breeze through the door, that's different. You just push the cart towards the group and you're saying to yourself, okay, wait a minute now, hold up. This guy just, and it's not like he left, let's just say he had a couple of bags, he or she had a couple of plastic bags that they didn't need, and they left it in the cart too. Then it's just like, wow, and you're leaving garbage in the cart. Okay, and then you can kind of tell that person was, and there's a garbage bin right there to the right before they leave the actual store. They could have just, then okay, you can kind of see that certain people might be a little bit reckless, but it's good though, because you do get to gauge it, but then at the same time, it could make you see a false analysis because it's circumstantial. Now, it is a good gauge, though, depending on how you look at life.
As somebody who's had to like corral those carts plenty of times in multiple different jobs, it really, really goes to show like who's done this before. You know what I mean? Who else knows like what other people are going for? And like you said, circumstantial things are circumstantial, but like if you're, like you said, dumping shit in it and just fuck it, leave it wherever in the parking lot, and some guy has to go wrangle it in the middle of the parking lot, dodging cars and whatnot. That's great. That's a great way to go about life. You know what I mean? Like,
it is shitty. It is shitty.
A lack of empathy is basically the thing I look at it with, like, especially like, once again, determined on attitude. But if you're not, I don't know, it's somebody else is having to do that, but they're not getting paid much to do that. And they're definitely like not enjoying to have to do that either, especially now where it's minus 12 here. I don't know where it is there, but like,
yeah, we had a fresh snowfall, so it's definitely under zero. It's definitely like, let's just say -5. Let's just say, for example. But you're right, it's just shitty because, buddy. But like, for example, when I worked at a grocery store back in my hometown, it's scary because you think to yourself, some of those guys who collect the carts, because I worked in produce, so I'm dealing with apples and bananas, but and greens and shit, like celery and shit. So I'm stocking those things out, and people are just doing their thing and shopping. But some of the guys who you'd see like would have to like round those carts up in the snow, rain, whatever. Some of the guys are such dope guys. Like, you don't want to use the word sweet because it's not sweet in the sense of being on no different type of time. I'm talking about sweet in the sense of they'll actually grab a cart. Let's just say they saw an elderly lady walking towards a grocery store. Man, would you like me to go grab one of those grocery carts for you? This is kind of before COVID or whatever, like before any COV, because then like they wouldn't be so scared to have somebody go get a cart for them. But so it's like you see them nice acts and you're saying to yourself, dang, this is a cool dude. Like, he's not trying to hurt nobody. So when you do see people acting like, I know the example was the shopping cart thing, but I'm using it as a literal, like, you see these people be, for lack of a better word, terrible or shitty by just kind of rolling the cart to, like, especially if it's outside and they have the little like structure that the carts go under, and they don't even aim to, like, they aim towards it, but it goes nowhere actually near it. And then you just think to yourself, like, yeah, that person, and then they jump into their really nice car or whatever. You might be thinking like, okay, yeah, this person definitely has like an arrogance to them. And it sucks, but then you have to like kind of just do your best to not be that type of person. How else can you do it other than that? I won't lie. There's times where I might be walking at work. I'll see like some paper towel or whatever on the ground, but you might not want to pick it up because unfortunately, it sucks to say, that could have been wiped on somebody's nose or whatever the case is. So you're not trying to just pick things up all the time as far as being that good Samaritan. Not to say that you're trying to be a jerk and just leave it, but it's like, yo, this is real now. So I definitely don't want to touch a paper towel or a Tim Hortons cup, but there's still a little bit of coffee on it in it. I mean, and it's on the ground. You don't want to be like, you know what I mean? So it sucks in that regard too, because you don't want to be a shitty person, but how you going to just be always going around cleaning up others' messes? You don't want to be the fucking, oh, somebody else will do it, somebody else's job. You don't want to be that guy, but sometimes it's like, I feel like as humans, if you do that for every situation that you see, unfortunately, you're going to burn yourself out, bro. It depends. So it's kind of like sometimes you have to pick and choose the battles you're trying to win to hopefully until you get to that point of, I guess, maybe mastering being perfect, so to speak, and always being able to, you know, solve situations and not get burnt out after. But in my opinion, I feel like the average person might get burnt out.
Yeah, you can only do so much, and you can only pick up pick your battles basically. Sure. But it's all about not being that person for somebody else, not being that problem for somebody else, not being that, oh, that fucking guy who came in here, do you want to hear what he did? You know what I mean? Not being that guy to somebody else. Like, that's the biggest thing. I think the biggest takeaway from all of it is just trying to like recognize, not even like empathy or anything like that. Just realize how you come off to other people, like sometimes with like your energy or your actions. Like I try to be conscious of it these days, but like, fuck, there's been times where I've just walk in, like there was times in the past where I just walk in and all of a sudden I'm just getting stalked by people and it's just like, oh, I'm giving off kind of a weird fucking up energy, right? Like, okay, I guess that's the way it is. But nowadays I'm trying to be more conscious about that. Just trying not to be as nasty. I've never been nasty to like service workers or anything, like workers or anything like that, but just, you know what I mean? But like, just trying to be extra not nasty, I guess.
No, and that's real, bro. And I'm glad that you are working on that and trying to be better as a human. That's all one could ask for, right? And for you to reach a point where you actually are trying to do that, as opposed to just being like, no, I'm cool with how everything's going. Actually wanting to improve, bro, keep doing that. I can't lie, I'm similar. When I enter certain rooms, people, like, it's not on no, I promise you, it's not me ever trying to be on no tough guy shit. My energy might just be weird, where people just kind of, certain people will just stop talking as if, like, I feel like this, if people are the type of, if you're the type of person who loves to gossip and things of that nature, when I step into the, like, when I come into a certain room, you might stop gossiping and stuff, or stop, you know what I mean? Like, keep keying with all your, like, typically if you're a woman talking to a dude, or two dudes talking, and like, you're a gossip type of dude, I don't want to be around you anyway. But it's cool
with
that
a couple of those.
stop. Yeah, but it's like, it's cool when they stop, because I think to myself, okay, whether they were talking about me or not, whatever. But I'm glad that I don't have to sit here and hear the gossip. Because don't get me wrong, although you express, like, if you're a negative person and people say stuff like, whoa, did you see that guy who came in earlier? That's a different type of gossip, because you're trying to say to somebody else you work with, yo, if this guy comes in again, he's a rude jerk, or X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z. It's not that you're just trying to gossip and say, like, start rumors and shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's a different type of, you're not necessarily gossiping. You're kind of warning your coworkers when you say, hey, did you see that asshole who came in earlier who was being a jerk or whatever, right?
I got a story about that one where it's a funny story. There's when I was working at this one spot, it was I'm not going to mention the name of the company because it's not worth mentioning, but it was like a bulk food store. So restaurants and shit would buy from it. So the one guy came in, he wanted, I don't know how many boxes of French fries, but like boxes, like, of them. And guess who got elected to do that? And he was particular about the boxes. So I had to go into the freezer and whatnot, make sure like the boxes weren't fucked up or anything like that and all that, and loaded it up on the carts and brought it out there. Not only did I have to put them on the carts, bring them out there, bring it up to the front, get them all, they rang them all through. I had to take him out to his car and load him in his truck, whatever the fuck it was. I don't remember at this point. So we always grumble about that. All the guys who I worked with always grumble about these motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of people were pretty shitty about that and be like, you do this, like, motherfucker, like, okay, please is in the English language, use it. You know what I mean?
Just being disrespectful.
So my one friend saw this happening, saw me having to do all this stuff. And I walk out with them and I start loading the car. The guy handed me a $5 and I just, thank you very much. Pocket that right in. I go right back inside. And he's like, man, I saw what that fucking guy, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, that fucking guy, right? Blah, blah, blah. In the meantime, I've got a $5 in my pocket. So I knew the next time that guy came in, hey, do you need anything? Can I help you with anything?
100%. But that's how you get.
And everyone else stayed away from him because of that.
Yeah, but that's how you get that type of service, bro. And it is what it is. Like, because you might, it's circumstantial where you saw him give you a little love, even if he was a little bit of a jerk or whatever. At the end of the day, when he's like, yo,
no, he wasn't. But I didn't play it. I didn't dispel that notion that they had in their head just seeing the situation, just because I knew better, because I had $5 in my pocket more than I did when I walked out of there.
Exactly. So because you saw like the real side where he wasn't that type of person, and I'm glad. But see, even that, like, it's good. You get put in a situation where the circumstance allowed you to kind of make a good assessment of a person versus seeing that he's the type of person that leaves the cart wherever he wants. He wasn't. And that's a dope experience, right? Like, but it's good though, man. It's good. Like, metaphorically, like, it's good though. Like, in my opinion, the way we try to tackle things that we face every day, bro, like, that's what's going to determine our future. Like, every action, literally every action we make throughout our days or whatever, whether it's how you treat people, what you do, the method you choose to accomplish things, aka you choose to accomplish it on some righteous type shit, or you choose to accomplish it backsliding and manipulating people and shit. Like, you can still get to your goal each way. But one way is just straight up, you're screwing people to get there, unfortunately. Yeah, bro, it's like all these things, in my opinion, matter, like down to your very atom, down to the subatomic particles that are in your body. Like, everything you do, like, you kind of have to do it with purpose. There has to be intention behind it, in my opinion. Otherwise, you might go down a path where you look up and say, man, I wish I did X, Y, and Z when I was this age. Or, man, when you're still young enough to do it, like, whether you're 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, aka young, if you still have life in your body, you're able-bodied, you can see, you can hear, you can talk there's nothing wrong with you, so to speak, bro. That right there is enough for you to actually to propel yourself into whether it's living life better or smiling more or doing your best to try to find ways to deal with certain demons or certain negative things you might have. But all I can say is just do your best to start and be on that shit, because no one else can do it but you, you know?
Man, I couldn't have said it any better. You nailed it.
Bro, with that being said, yo, we can rap on that shit if you're down. Like that was a dope ass, you know, little conversation. I hope the people listening, they enjoyed it, you know? But yeah.
I agree, man. Like, yeah, you nailed it with that, like that last part right there.
Yeah, bro. Like we got to do, in my opinion, we just got to make moves with purpose. That's kind of the simplest way I can put it. Make
The
moves
purpose
with
of life
purpose.
is a life with a purpose.
Okay, well, there you go. My name is Graham.
I'm Trent.
This has been another episode of Ultra Fly Talk. We really appreciate you rocking with us. And coming from like this quote unquote first New Year's episode, we hope y'all got to have like a prosperous New Year and yo, live it up. Just do your best. We rooting for you. Put it that way.
Exactly.
Go for gold. Go for gold, people. Thanks for rocking with us.